Hi, good day, and welcome to the second video on the June 2021 mathematics crash course. Today we will be looking at all the different types of questions that can come in question 2 in your exam. So let's just have a quick scroll through of what today is going to look like. Um, Question 2, well, the first one I planned was a bunch of factorization questions. It's a must in the exam. There's also a lot of indices that can come. There's also solving for x, usually with a fraction. Let's go down and let's see some more. Oh, the other one is a kind of worded solve for x type of question. So it's a worded question, and students have told me in the past that they have problems with the worded question. So we will handle a worded question, and that should be the end of question 2 for today, of the different types that can come. All right, so let's get started with the first one here. The first one here, question 1a, they're asking us to factorize this particular expression. Whenever you're factorizing, what you're basically doing is pulling out common items and trying to get the expression in brackets. So you have to look what's common between here. What are the common factors between the 6xy and the 10x squared? Well, for one, I think 2 can go into both the 6 and the 10. So I'll be pulling out 2. Both of them seem to have a y. So I think I'll be pulling out the y. And both of them at least have one x to spare. He has an x and an x squared. So I think I'll be pulling out 2y and x from both items. So let's investigate what pulling out the numbers actually mean. Because sometimes we just say we're pulling out a number, and and then we see the teacher do something on the board, and your brain kind of half processes it, and you're not too sure what went on. So let me show you what that really means. If you are pulling out 2x and y, because those are the three things we wanted to pull out, 2x and y. This really means, let me write back the expression here. This really means that you're visiting everyone and dividing them by whatever you are pulling out. So when you are pulling out something, you're really secretly dividing everyone by what you are pulling out. So that means I'm secretly visiting him and dividing it by 2x and y. And I'm also secretly visiting the 10x squared and y, and also dividing it by 2x and y. So let's see what happens. Well, I know the 2 will go into the 6 3 times. The x and the x will cancel out, and the y and the y will cancel. So that seems to leave me with only 3 in the first section. How about the other section? 2 into 10 is 5. Well, here's an x squared and here's an x. So the x will cancel out with the squared, because remember, x squared is really x multiplied by another x. And here's a y that will cancel out with the y. So over here, we're left with 5x. So what will my final answer look like? 2xy is what we pulled out. And what are we remaining with in the brackets? 3 plus 5 and x. And that's the end of that question, right? With all the working shown clearly, all right? So let's move on to the other one. The other one is, well, this is a very popular type of question, and you can't really miss it. It's the one with 4 items. You have 2 here, and you have 2 here. Anytime you see this type of factorization question, the one with 4 items, break it up into 2 pieces. You notice I boxed off the first 2 items, and then I boxed off the other 2 items. And what you're trying to do is factorize each section so that they look exactly the same. So from the first section, what can I pull out? Well, I know 4 could go into 8 and 12, and he has a m squared and he has a m. So I think the best thing to pull out from the first item is 4m. So when I'm pulling out 4m, I'm secretly dividing m. I'm going to do the working on the side. I have 8m squared minus 12m, and I'm dividing everyone here by 4m, because that's what I'm pulling out from the first 2 items. Because I realize 4 and m can go into both expressions without leaving a remainder. So the m will cancel out with the squared. 4 into 8 is 2. So I'm left with 2m here. The m and the m will cancel. 4 into 12 is 3. So in the first brackets, I'm left with 2m minus 3. Plus, we have to factorize the other 2 items. Now, the other 2 items is pretty simple. It's just 10m minus 5. So I'm going to pull out 5, because I know 5 can go into both 10 and 15. So if I'm pulling out 5, I'm secretly dividing everyone here by 5. 5 into 10 is, 2, my mistake. So I get 2m, and 5 into 15 is 3. So I'm left with 2m minus 3. Now, the whole mission here is to make the items in the brackets look exactly the same. You notice we have 2 same things in each bracket. Let me give you a very simple example. If I had xb minus 2b, I'm going to assume that you did a little bit of factorization to reach this point of doing a crash course, right? If I had given you a very simple question like this, and I asked you, A, what should we pull out? Almost instantaneously, you would say B, because B and B are similar to both. So you'll be left with x minus 2. And the reason this question was so easy is because the 2 items had something very similar at first glance. And that similar thing was B. Now, whenever you're pulling out something, you notice we pulled out the B. You notice the B is twice here and here. But when we pull it out, we only write it once. The same thing goes for the 2m minus 3. We have a 2m minus 3 here and a 2m minus 3. And they look exactly the same. So he comes like a B and he comes like a B. So when you pull out the same item, we are pulling out 2m minus 3. We only write it once. If we pull out 2m minus 3 from here, we'll be left with 4m. And if we pull out the 2m minus 3 from here, we would be left with the 5. And that's the final answer for this particular type of factorization question. The one with 4 items. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Super popular in the CXC exam. Okay? Next one, part 3. This is a difference between 2 squares. You know it from a mile away, right? How do you know it from a mile away? It has a squared minus b squared. A pattern. Whenever you see this pattern, you put a and b in each bracket, put a positive in one and a minus in the other one. But for this formula to work, this entire item must be squared, this entire item must be squared, and you must have a minus in the middle. You will notice in this question, the squared only belongs to the m, and the 16 has no squared. However, you know 9 is the same thing as 3 squared. So I can throw away the 9 and replace it with 3 squared. Nothing is wrong with that. And 16 is the same thing as 4 squared. So now the 3 squared and the m squared both have a squared. So why not put the 3m in brackets and put 1 squared on the outside? If I put the whole item in brackets and have the squared on the outside, that means the squared belongs to the 3, and it also belongs to the m at the same point in time. So the 3m, this entire item, gets squared, and the 4 now has a squared. So it comes like you have a squared minus b squared. So when you factorize this, let me just put it here, the 3m and the 4, the 3m and the 4, make one positive, make the other one minus. And that's the end of the question. This is the difference between two squares. Part 4 is a simplification question. What we need to do is factorize the top and factorize the underneath, and after we factorize, something on top and something on the underneath will look exactly the same. And when they look exactly the same, we will cancel them out, making the entire expression simpler. So the top is going to be easy to simplify. To factorize. We're just going to pull out 2. So if we pull out 2, we will be left with x squared minus 4. Right? Because we just secretly visited everybody inside and divided them by 4. Now, a lot of students will stop here by mistake. If you look at this carefully, this is a difference between 2 squares. Look at the brackets. Look at the brackets here. Forget the 2 on the outside. You just concentrate here. Let's rewrite this a little bit different. 2, open brackets, x squared, but isn't 4 the same thing as 2 squared? Right, so I think you all seeing the pattern here now. 2, and you put 2 brackets here. This comes like A, this comes like B. Put x and 2, x and 2, make one positive, make one a minus. So we have just factorized the top. Okay? So I'm going to run out of space eventually here, so I'm going to scroll down. Let's factorize the underneath. Now the underneath at first glance, is a quadratic equation. Now, factorizing a quadratic equation, if you're not familiar with it, just watching me do one example probably won't make it stick in your head. So instead, well, I'm going to still do it, right? Instead, let's try to find a video online that would explain the factorization of quadratics from beginning to end in a fairly simple manner, right? Let me see here. So I went ahead and did this. I just went on YouTube and I typed in how to factorize quadratics. And then I pressed enter. And of course, a number of videos came up. I'm very familiar with all of these videos. I would go with the second one here, right? I think a lot of people, and this guy is pretty popular, right? No one is paying me to promote anybody's videos here. It's just that I went through the video and I found that the second video here, the one I'm pointing at, did a pretty good job at explaining how to factorize quadratics, all right? The one on top is all right, but I found the questions were too easy in the first one. The second one, the difficulty of the questions was on spot. Okay? So you know what to type in, how to factorize quadratics. Look for this video here. All right. So let's go back here. When you're factorizing a quadratic, right? What we have here is the 2x squared minus x minus 6. So you have, well, the minus x is the same thing as minus 1x. No examiner is going to put the 1 for you. So you make sure and put the 1. In a quadratic, the number touching x squared is a, The number touching x is b, so b is minus 1. Keep in mind, the signs are super important. And c is minus 6. Let me just change the color here, right? So we don't get mixed up with the original working. What you need to do when you're factorizing a quadratic is multiply a and c. So a multiplied by c is what? 2 multiplied by minus 6, which is minus 12. What we need to do is figure out what two numbers, if we were to multiply it, would give us minus 12. But if we were to add it, we would get the middle term. Well, in this case here, the b value. So let's start off. I want to do the wrong thing first, right? Let's say 4 multiplied by let me do something even, wronger, if that's a real word, right? All right. 4 by 3. Will that give us minus 12? No. 4 by 3 will give us positive 12. We don't want positive 12. We want minus 12. So let's just put a minus sign here. That gives us minus 12. 4 by minus 3 is minus 12. But is this the correct one? If we were to add 4 and minus 3, let's add it here. 4 plus minus 3. We would actually, number plus and a minus is a minus. We would actually get positive 1. We don't want positive 1. We want minus 1. That's the b value. So this will not work. Instead, I suggest we take minus 4 multiplied by positive 3. Look at this. Minus 4 by minus 3 will give us minus 12 if we were to multiply. And if we take minus 4 and add 3, we get minus 1. Here's the correct one. Right? So it's a little bit of trial and error. So let's go back to this one here. We have 2x squared on this end and minus 6 on the other end. Minus 1x, look at we're using minus 4 and 3. Minus 1x is the same thing as minus 4x plus 3x. You notice that we didn't change the mathematical value of the question. Minus 1x and minus 4 plus 3x. And if we add minus 4x plus 3x, we would get back minus 1x. It's the same value, except I expressed it in two different ways. So you notice we have 4 items now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, we did a question like this just now, the one with the 4 items. Once we get the quadratic would start off with 3 items, but when we replace the middle term, we end up with 4 items. And what we need to do is factorize the first 2, then factorize the other 2, and try to make the items in the brackets look exactly the same. So I'm going to pull out 2x from the first 2 here. So I'm pulling out 2x, okay? So if I'm pulling out 2x, that means I'm secretly visiting everybody here and dividing them by 2x. So I'm going to skip this part and just do it because you can always do the working on the side. You will get x minus 2 here. And in the next half, I'm going to pull out positive 3. So if I'm pulling out positive 3, I'm visiting everybody here and dividing them by 3. So I'll get x minus 2. You notice the items in the brackets look exactly the same. Once they look exactly the same, extract it or pull it out, and you'll be left with the 2x and the 3. All right, so this is what we have so far, right? Now I think we're running out of space on this paper here. So we're almost finished. Remember, we worked out the top, right? So let's fix this here. And we got this expression. And we worked out the underneath and got this expression. I'm going to clear up some space here. All right. So, put a little box here so we don't get. For the top, right, this is what we have for the top. 2x minus 2 and x plus 2. That's this here. I just wrote back this. And for the underneath portion, we got x minus 2 and 2x plus 3. You notice something on top and underneath looks exactly the same? X minus 2, x minus 2. So the final answer is 2, and we are left with x plus 2, and underneath we are left with 2x plus 3. That's the end of that question. Quite long, but I hope you understood it. The only thing that I can think that will give you some problems is how to factorize this quadratic. But you have a video to watch in the event now that, you didn't understand it. All right, guys, let's move on. All right. Right, so for part B. Part B is an indices question. In fact, B part 1, part 2 are both indices questions. So if you're not familiar with indices questions, let's find a video. I actually have a video on this. All you have to do is go on YouTube, type in iLoveLessons, one word, and indices. Look at here. It's the very first video with this strange drawing of an octopus with a pirate hat, right? A screaming guy, a weird looking ghost. All right? It's a long video. It's a 1 hour and 18 minutes, but believe me, it has every single thing you need to pass the CXC exam in terms of indices. Almost every trick was discussed and done in that video. So let's move on to this question, right? I'm going to be breezing through this one because I have a video. I did all the hard work already about making the video. You just need to watch the video and then come back, okay? All right, so when we're multiplying indices, well, first of all, let me zoom in here a little bit. First of all, here's an x and there's no power, so the power is automatically 1. Here's a w, so the power is automatically 1. We're multiplying the 7 by the 3. That will give us 12. Let's handle the w's. When you're multiplying powers, right, you notice here is a w and here is a w. Because the bases are the same, you add the powers when multiplying. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Students make the mistake and multiply the powers. They say 1 multiplied by 3 is 3. Multiplication means to add the powers. Now let's handle the x's. You have x squared and x. We are multiplying. Here's 1, here's 2. Multiply means to add the powers. So 2 plus 1 is 3. That's the end of that question. All right? So let's move on to the other question. So multiply means to add the powers. So I think divide, once the bases are the same, will mean to minus the powers. Let's try this one. This one's going to be pretty easy. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So we're handling the numbers here first. Here we have a to the power 3 and a squared. The bases are the same, a, and we have a divide. 3 minus 2 is 1. And for the b's, we're dividing, so we're minusing the powers. 7 minus 3 is 4. Or you can write it like this. Whenever the power is 1, there's no need to write the 1. The 1 is understood. And b to the power 4. I would prefer to see this. All right, we move down. Solve this equation. This is going to be a cross multiplication equation. Whenever you see fractions and they ask you to solve for x, usually cross multiplication will save the day. But cross multiplication only works when there's exactly one fraction on each side of the equal sign. So you notice that I have two fractions here, 1, 2. It only works for one fraction here and one fraction here. So what you'll need to do is take this minus 4/5 and throw him across first. So throw across minus 4/5. Well, the 0 is really nothing. So you get positive 4/5. Once you get exactly one fraction on each side of the equal sign, we cross multiply. So let's cross multiply. It doesn't matter which diagonal we do first, but I'll do this one first. So every one here, the 2x plus 1 gets multiplied by 4. So let me write it the wrong way first. So I said take 4 and multiply it by 2x plus 1. And then we multiply the other diagonal, 3 by 5, which is 15. This is actually slightly wrong because if I write it like this, it sends the message that I am only multiplying the 2x by the 4. We just said this entire expression needs to be multiplied by 4. So that means this whole thing has to go in brackets. That way, you remember to multiply him and him by 4. So we're going to get 8x plus 4, because we're multiplying both of them by the 4, is equal to 15. Now for the easy part, solve for x. Throw across positive 4, you get minus 4. 8x is equal to 11. Therefore, x is 11 divided by 8. That's the end of that particular question. Moving down. All right, guys, before we move to the next question, remember, if you're from Trinidad and Tobago and you need extra lessons in, any subjects listed on the side here, right, please feel free to contact me. My number is in the description. In all my classes, we break down all the topics from scratch and we go through everything step by step. So I have different pieces of classes, those who just want to move fast and just basically fine tune. But if you're an adult or a repeater and you need everything explained piece by piece at a very slow pace, try us. Just give me a call. In the number in the description below. You don't actually pay at the beginning of the month. You pay at the end of the month, and you only pay at the end if you are satisfied with how the teaching and the lessons went. If you are not satisfied, you do not have to pay. Right? So that's our school, basically. That's how we promote our lessons, right? And it's fair for you because you get to basically test run everything for a month and only pay if you are satisfied. Okay, guys, so thanks for that few seconds. All right, let's move on to the next question. D. All right, this is the worded questions. You have $80. $80 is divided amongst 3 people. All right, so it's 3 people. All right, so that the second person will have twice as much as the first. So it have the first person. Let's call them first, second, and third. Right? So nowhere in the question they mention how much the first person got. So I have no idea how much the first person got. So when you don't know something in maths, you put an X. They said that the second person will have twice as much as the first. So if the first person got X and the second person got twice the amount, well, then he got 2X, 2 multiplied by X. And let's see what's going on with the third person here. And the third person will have $5 less than the second. So the second person got 2X and he's getting $5 less. So that means we're minusing 5. How much did each person get? It seems to me we have to solve for X first here. So that means if we add up all 3, we're supposed to get back the 80, because remember the 80 was divided amongst the 3 persons. So this is basically just a solve for X in a linear equation. So let's add up all the X's. X plus 2X is 3X, plus 2X is 5X. So 5X, and then we have a minus 5 there. is equal to 80. Let's solve for x. Throw across minus 5, you get positive 5. So 5x is equal to 85. That means x is 85 divided by 5. How much is 85 divided by 5? Let's get the calculator here. All right, move this up. 85 divided by 5 is 17. So that means x is 17. So to figure out how much each person got now, we just have to go and replace all the x's here with 17 and work each piece out. So the first person only has x, so he got $17 for sure. The second person got 2x. So if we replace the x with 17, 2 by 17 is 34. And this person got 2x minus 5. So it's 2 by 17 minus 5. Oh, I don't know why I need a calculator for this, but oh, I can't do this in my head right now. 2 by 17 minus 5. It's $29. You would think I'm a math teacher. All right. And that's the answer. Let's add up back all the answers and let's see if we get back the 80. 17 plus 34 plus 29. Hey, we got back the 80 flat. Great. So that was a worded question. And that's the end of question 2 of the different types of questions that can come in question 2 that I have noticed. Don't worry, guys. Even if I missed a type, like a topic in question 2, believe me, question 3, it's going to probably be in question 3. Or when we reach question 4, it's a lot of pages here we have, guys. We have about 85 pages of questions. So if I miss something in one question, don't be worried. You just follow the series of videos and we will catch it later down the line. There's no way I'm missing a type of question that can come in the exam, right? It's over 100 plus questions I have prepared here, okay? All right, guys, so stay tuned for my next video. This is only video 2, where we did the types of question 2s. And well, I guess within a day or 2, it will have the question 3s. Don't forget to like, to subscribe. Guys, I could really use the help in sharing the videos. I'm sure you all have more social media than me. I'm sure you all have Instagram, Facebook, whatever you can do to help share the video. I would really appreciate it, right? It just feels nice knowing that my video is being shared. I don't believe my videos are monetized for this particular video. So it isn't about the, getting money from YouTube, right? So I actually have fun making these videos. All right, so thanks a lot, guys, and well, see you soon for my next video.